Next question. Did the disciples exist? The 12 disciples of Jesus, exist. In your thoughts, how did the legends of their travels and their deaths get recorded?
Yeah, no, I don't think. Well, we don't really know. Let's put it that way. So the only ones that we know for sure or have really good evidence for is because Paul says he met Cephas, which means this is Peter, James, and John. He doesn't call them disciples. The word disciple does not appear anywhere in Paul. He just knows them as apostles, and apostles is someone who's received a revelation of Jesus, who appointed them a messenger for the gospel. So at least we know those three names, and they do line up with the top three who are called disciples in the Gospels. The first time they're called disciples is in the Gospels, and the top three are the same three. It's Cephas, James, and John. So there does seem to be a lineup there, and those are probably historical people, or intended to be. I doubt the Gospels record any historically accurate information about them. They're making that up, I think. But they're at least using known people. Now, when you get beyond that, the Gospels don't even agree on what the other 9 people were. And we have no records of them. We can't identify any of the letters that we have as actually coming from them. We have no third-party records of them. The Book of Acts barely knows what happened to a lot of them, and even the Book of Acts is not necessarily reliable because it seems to be making stuff up as well. And when you get to the first legends of them, we're in the 2nd century, and we have like really ridiculous stories being told. John walks around, goes to an inn, commands bed bugs to obey his will, and these kinds of ridiculous stories. So. Which show no evidence of any sources, right?
Like Peter getting crucified upside down.
Right, and that comes out in the Acts. That's the Acts of the Acts of Peter, which is actually a Gnostic text. It's not even a text that's from the Orthodox tradition, and that also has ridiculous stories like Nero watching this wizard fly through the air. Nero and all of Rome watching this wizard fly through the air. There's talking dogs. There's resurrection of a dead fish. Like it's this is not a believable story, and it doesn't show any evidence of any connection to any kind of sources or reality in that sense. So the legends just grow and become ridiculous over time. So we can't use them as history. And so we don't know. We don't know what happened to these people. All of their actual writings were destroyed. They're lost. We don't get to see them. We don't get to know what they said or did. And the other apostles that Paul mentions as being active in kind of the top dogs at the time, like Apollos and Junius and things, don't even appear in the Gospels. So there's no real there's confusion as to who these people were and what they were doing. So no, we don't know a whole lot about them.
Okay, that brings me to my next question. I know Christian apologists like to say the disciples died for their belief in the resurrection and the death of Jesus, and this is like a big thing. However, you have debunked that claim, you and Bart Ehrman. But can you briefly comment on the death of them? Do we have reliable sources that talk about them believing the resurrection and then dying for that?
No. Basically, the only death that we have a reference to someone dying for witnessing for Christ, but it doesn't get any more specific as to what they were witnessing to, what they were saying. They died for the gospel, but what was the gospel they were preaching at the time? It is Paul, and that's in 1 Clement. 1 Clement referred, but Paul didn't know Jesus personally, right? Yeah. And Paul saw Jesus in a vision, as Paul himself says, right? So Paul died for a vision.
So nothing in the New Testament says that they died for their belief?
No. The only death that's in the New Testament of one of the disciples, or one of the inner core of the so-called 12, is one of the Jameses, and it just says that he was killed. It doesn't say that he could have recanted and gotten away, or what gospel he was killed for, or what he was killed for, or anything. It just says he was killed, right? And even that, might not necessarily be a true story. And that's it, really. So after that, it's just legends. We know Peter died. We know, for example, 1 Clement refers to Peter dying, but he doesn't say why or where or for what purpose, or what gospel he died for. Or if he died for any gospel, he might have died of old age or whatever. So we just don't have decent data on what they died for, when they died, and that's it. So you really can't build much of a case out of that, right?
Okay.